Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Round 7. How you doing? We're going to be going over ImDatGood, who is a new member of my alliance, and so we're going to give him hell and roast his teams. But before we get into that, I want to take a minute to talk about the Emmarauders with their rework and Pryor, and whether or not you should be building this team. We were talking about this in Twitch chat just before recording this video. If you want to be a part of that conversation, links are in the description. You can catch me on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. Marauders, as we see, we will see later in this lineup, has some pretty interesting things that you can do without building Pryor. And the team is very stubborn now. They have reduced the amount of counters that can go into this team. And when you put Pryor in, it will further reduce the amount of counters and make the team kind of tricky and catch people off guard. So for right now, you should definitely be running your Emmarauders team with Emma. And I'll show you the build that I like. ImDatGood is using it. And I think in tomorrow's video, we'll see that again. It's a very stubborn defense and it works really well. But my point is the rework did this team a lot of good. And Mystique doesn't suck anymore. She doesn't suck anymore, especially when she's paired with Strife. So we're going to take a look at that team later on in this lineup and talk some more about it. But I just like to say the Emmarauder team is looking pretty good as a defense team. How much you should invest in that team kind of depends on how much you have already invested in that team. I still think that Pryor is a flex pick, but taking her to G12 wouldn't kill you. All right, we grade on 5 different criteria. It's who you're using, their placement, their power levels, their ISOs, and what kind of mood I'm in. We're looking at a Hydra. There I go with that microphone again. We're looking at a Hydra 1.0 team built just the way I like it. Fortifiers across the board, coming up on that 400 level mark, even power levels. This is fantastic. I would like to see you move the tank to the outside, although yeah, let's move the tank to the outside. I'm going to go A- on that just for that little placement change. That'll help. Doesn't matter which side you put them on. Probably swap places with Sniper because Sniper goes invisible, and then you'll be breaking up chain attacks and making things a little bit more challenging for your opponent. So let's get a placement swap there. Not bad otherwise. Team number 2 is a Mercs team with Shuri. This is a pretty traditional build. I like what's going on here. We've got Skirmisher on Taskmaster. We've got one Striker Merc. I would like to see Killmonger as a Striker, but you don't have to change him. He has a lot of crit built into his kit. And this team is too old and busted to really do anything. Although your Merc Riot Guard, yeah, he's the smallest, so leave him as a fortifier, I guess. I like to see all the Mercs as Strikers and Taskmasters as Skirmishers, so I would like to see you change those if you could, but ISOs are expensive and this team isn't really worth investing in. Also, this guy is a little bit squishy compared to the rest of the team. Well, you're only about a 10k down, but still, maybe leave him as a fortifier unless you're going to take him to gear tier 14, and I mean, who wants to take Merc Riot Guard to gear tier 14? I mean, come on, right? As is, I'm going to go B- on this team. It's nothing special. Your placement's pretty good, and those ISOs could use some work, but it's just not worth putting it into. Here's another team that's old and busted and not really worth it. I think we should probably try swapping out She-Hulk or another member of this team to create something different, or better yet, just take Invisible Woman off this team and start using her on hybrids, because this team, it just doesn't hold up anymore. It's a filler team. It's pretty junk, and I don't like it very much at all. You do, however, have this team built the right way: 2 Skirmishers, 2 Strikers, and then She-Hulk is something else, with She-Hulk off to the side. So you're doing everything right here. It's just an old busted team, and I'm starting to grade it a little bit more poorly. We're going to give it a B. Actually, I'll give it a B+. You're doing everything right here and then some. So it's not bad. You're doing everything right, but I would like to see you break it apart and do something different. I mean, maybe not break this team apart because this team's already got a pretty substantial investment, but if you're in like purple gear on your characters and stuff, break the team up and use Invisible Woman someplace else. Okay, we have a Eternal Chavez team with Ultron. What I'd like to see you do is swap places with Ultron and Icarus, because Ultron's too darn slow to get going. Cersei is going to rewind their turn meter, giving Icarus enough time over here in this position to get his ult off, which will rewind turn meter even further. And then Ultron will be sped up by her, putting the bots on the field. Honestly, Ultron in here is a little bit redundant. These guys are either going to destroy him or they're not. And then Ultron on the field, I don't know. Honestly, I think you should probably do something like swap out Ultron with Loki and then use Squirrel Girl elsewhere on like a different version, like a 4-piece YA team, and go Loki, and then, I don't know, a pre-taunt tank like Drax or something, just to make it tougher. Depending on where your Black Order is, you could throw in Thanos in here. I kind of like Black Order as a 5-piece rather than breaking them up, though, if you've got that team built. So different options that you've got going on here. I think this is a little bit of a waste of an Ultron because he's so slow on this build, he's not going to make a difference. 2, the Eternals are going to either kill him or not. So, I mean, if they bring in something that's going to beat this team, it's going to beat Ultron also. So I think that's a little bit of a waste. You should try some different characters. Otherwise, your ISOs are good and your placement is okay. So I'm going to give you a B- on that. Let's move on to, oh, here's your Black Order, and they're built up. So yeah, you don't want to break this team up. Is what it is. Placement's fine. Characters, ISOs, all that's good. You get an A for that team. Good job. 6 is your Infinity Watch. I like them better on offense than defense, but you have the defensive ISOs in place. It's a pretty decent team. I will go A- for that, simply because I'd like to see you use them on offense. They're just too powerful to pass up. Let's see. We got a Doom New Warriors team with Red Guardian in there. So what's going to happen is somebody's going to come into this team with like Hela and Zemo. Zemo's going to break the taunt here, put an ability block on Doom, and then Hela's going to spread that ability block to other people. Or you could put the ability block on Cloak and spread it either way, whatever you want to do. And the team isn't that challenging. I think building a Doom defense and a New Warrior defense is a better way to go, because then they have 2 challenging teams to take down instead of 1. This is another case where you're putting too much into one instead of spreading it out. All your eggs in one basket, and that basket's still going to get smashed, and then you got a basket full of crushed eggs. And that's how my analogies work too. So the ISOs are pretty good. You've got 3 people basically putting out vulnerables, 2 people soaking them up, plus him as a healer. He works fine as a healer. Yeah, all in all, it's pretty good. I'm going to give you a B for that. I think you should break the team up and use 2 different defenses. Team number 8 is the Inhuman Coulson hybrid team. This is tried and true. Pretty good team here. You have 3 people putting out, or 2 people putting out vulnerables, 2 people soaking them up. Oh, sorry, 3 people. She's got that skirmisher tag on there. Okay, I like that. Alternatively, you can do Coulson as a striker and Surfer as a raider. I kind of like Coulson's basic for the turn meter rewind. Doesn't really matter. He pops off early. If you're in a defense down adjacent room, like you're adjacent to security or insecurity, you can also consider swapping out one of these tunes for Kestrel, and then these guys are kind of open up early and fast, and it really blows people up. It's a challenging team with Kestrel in it, only if you're in or adjacent to security. I like everything you're doing here. I can give you an A for this team. There are alternative choices, but that one works well. Team number 9. Now, here's this Emmarauder team that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I think that for right now, this is the team that we should be building. I think these are pretty good, if not the best ISOs. When Madeline Pryor comes out, Madeline Pryor will be a striker. Her basic counter assist has flip 3 positive effects into negative effects in war defense, which is the only place she'll be used, and that's pretty amazing. So we'll be making her a striker, and that means we want more vulnerables on the field. So if we replace Minerva with Madeline Pryor, we're going to want to change her to a skirmisher, because I just don't see anybody else that we can change to a skirmisher or a raider on the team other than Strife, and we have exhausted it to death, and the math says on average Strife is going to get more barrier via fortifier, especially higher level fortifiers. Also, she's giving the team defense up, and if you want to take Emma off of the team and replace her with somebody who is like a raider, like Surfer as a raider, to put out more vulnerables on the team for Madeline Pryor to work off of, which is a thing to do, or even hell, you can make Surfer a healer on this team too, but you know, we're talking raider. Anyway, if you take her away, he doesn't get that defense up on spawn, and he'll be relying on his ISO to do it. So you want to go 2.3 fortifier on Strife. However, this is a fantastic build. I would say continue putting your blue ISOs on Strife. I'm not having any trouble gathering blue ISO. It's the ions that are kind of tough to find. The ISO 8 material is easy for me. I would say go ahead and bring him up into the blue. I'd say bring all these characters up to 2.3. This is going to be, I mean, this is the time to do it if you're going to do it, because this is when you'll get the value out of that improvement. I'm going to be bringing up mine. I'm going to be building Madeline Pryor to Gear Tier 12 6664 and putting her in place of Minerva. For the time being, I'm going to be running this exact team with this exact placement. And then I'm going to be switching my Emma over to a skirmisher to put more vulnerables on the field for when Madeline comes into play. But before then, she remains a healer. Remember, when he gets rejuve, he gets 10% barrier added to him. He is getting so much barrier, and his resistance is through the roof right now. That Shadowlands team is having a very hard time beating this team as is. And when Madeline Pryor comes out, you just won't be able to do it anymore, because you will not be able to get the disrupt on Strife. You won't be able to land the ability block over here on Emma, and the whole thing is just going to be an uphill battle. And I just don't think the Shadowlands will be a counter for this team any longer. So get the value out of your Marauder team while you can. Build this for now. Be prepared to switch things up just slightly when Madeline Pryor comes out. And remember that Madeline Pryor is just a defensive war character. There is no value in building her up big unless you enjoy things like Tower Mode. If you're looking forward to Crucible, if you want to just get your whale flex on, go for it. But for almost everyone in the game, she is totally shelvable. Just get the stars on her. You don't have to build her at all. I just think the Gear Tier 12 is pretty cost effective for me. And I think that her speeding up Strife just by being there is going to be huge. All right, so A for this team, be prepared to make some adjustments when Madeline Pryor comes out if you want to. And team number 10 is a Heroes for Hire. This is a pretty good placement. I kind of like having, I would like to see Iron Fist, then Luke Cage, then Colleen Wing, then Shang-Chi, and then Misty Knight for your placement. I've gone over it, and the three main teams that are going to be going into this, that's the placement that covers the widest variety of things. Like, that's when I go into it with either Dark Hunters, Infinity Watch, or Weapon X. I go, oh man, it's that placement. I hate that placement. So that's the placement I like the best. This works. I just don't like Shang-Chi on the corner because he's a hot target to put that disrupt on. Colleen Wing needs those deflects, so she's another good target to put that disrupt on when you're going into it with Dark Hunters. There's lots of reasons. Anyway, try that placement. Fortifier, Skirmisher, Raider, let's see, Skirmisher, Striker, great ISOs on this team. Power level's fantastic. You only need to have them about 450 to make them call in the big boys on this team. So everything's right. I think a placement tweak would help you, although at least you don't have Luke Cage on the corner, so that's good. I'm going to go A- for that team. All right, this has been ImDatGood's defense, and honestly, he was pretty good with this defense. I kind of like the things they were doing. Probably could spread them out a little bit more to have more offensive attacks and get that war currency, because we know it's the war currency you're after, not the defensive victories. I like to throw myself under the bus in all these videos and say war defense doesn't matter. That's true. It doesn't really matter. Okay, I hope you found the value in some of these defenses that I showed you. I'm curious what you're going to be doing with Madeline Pryor and your Emmarauders. Leave some comments down in the description. Hit that like button while you're down there. And remember, guys, don't just have a good game. Be good to yourselves and others too. And I will catch you next time. Bye.